One piece of advice I have for a parent or for an adult with a teenager is to make sure they don't brush off their teenager's problems as a phase or something that they're bound to get through. I just think it's very important, especially now, to help teenagers and make them realize that they're not alone and that there's always someone there to listen to them, even if it's just a small issue. Because sometimes we struggle with opening up and admitting that we're having issues.
The pandemic, school was already a bit stressful, but being that everything is online now, it's a lot more on our plate.
My advice to parents and adults to better understand our stress during this time would be to just put themselves in our shoes and just try to help us along the way, because it would mean a lot, because right now we're very stressed out and it can be really hard.
To any parents or adults trying to make it better for their teens during the pandemic or during quarantine when they can't see their friends, you definitely need to be very supportive and not overbearing, because when I was home alone and with just my parents, I felt like I had no place to get away from them. I was surrounded by them. I was suffocated, kind of. And you need to give them their space, but also be supportive and talk to them and try to understand what they're going through, because it's hard as teens. These are supposed to be the most fun years of your life. You're supposed to make great friendships, like have a great time, and all of that was taken away from us. So it's definitely important to stay positive and supportive, as well as giving your kids some space to deal with this on their own and not overstep.
For teens who are stressed out during this time, their parents should try to reach out to them. Parents should show more love to their kids and even be more patient towards them. This pandemic is stressful for everyone, so it's best that it doesn't get the best of the parents so they can help their kids.
Some advice for adults and parents to better understand the stress that many teens are undergoing right now is to check in with the teen as often as possible. These circumstances are so unique and things are changing day by day, so this creates even more stress on ourselves because we feel like things are out of our control. Whenever we talk about our problems or what we're feeling, it really helps because we feel like we have more support and our parents can do certain things to help make our lives easier.
Everything is so heightened at this age and everything seems like the end of the world, even though it may not be. So this virus and this pandemic is closing teens into their own rooms and they can't go anywhere or do anything or see anyone, which is going to feel like the end of the world because everyone always tells us the teenage years are our best years and we feel like it's being taken all away. So to keep that in mind.
Is to just listen and like have your teen take a break and tell you about their day or things like that, because I feel like we're all glued to the screen 24/7. Like it's not just like going to Zoom classes and then you being done for the day. Like there's many more assignments that go on in the background that you have to like turn in, and you're always glued to the screen. Like our brains are exhausted, our eyes are exhausted.
Some advice I would give to adults or parents that have a relationship with a teenager on a day-to-day basis would be to be more understanding and more comforting towards us. Comforting in the sense of being there for somebody, and not just like physically there, but I guess there to talk or just hear you out.
COVID-19 has impacted my life in a negative manner because it has put a stop to all in-person activities and projects in which I was actively involved or in which I planned on participating in during the spring and during the summer. It has also made it really hard to apply to college since all campus visits and in-person sessions were canceled. I've also had to deal with a lot of the application process by myself since it has been hard to contact people virtually. Finally, I miss seeing my friends and my family and having normal social interactions.
COVID-19 impacted my life negatively because it just like brought a lot more stress into my life, like whether it was school wise, like things online are like much more stressful because there's like if your Wi-Fi isn't working or if you just like don't get the assignments and you have to like email the teachers instead of like being able to like ask for help like right away in class and things like that.
One way that COVID-19 has impacted my life negatively is that before I had a schedule that I would stick to every day for school. and now I don't. And this has made me lose motivation and procrastinate to small things such as homework.
One way that COVID 19 has affected my life in a negative manner is probably not going outside as much as I would want to, or going to entertainment places. For example, movies, museums, theaters, things like that, theater parks.
I would say the main negative effect that COVID had on me was that I can't play sports this fall, and well, we don't know about this winter yet. So I'd say that has had the greatest negative effect on me.
It really wrecked my summer as a whole because I had a lot of plans that were just canceled and cut off because of COVID.
And I think COVID has affected my life in a negative way because it made me feel more restricted and I couldn't go out. Like my summer just felt like off because normally I'd go on vacation with my family and like big trips, and this year I wasn't able to do that because of the virus.
It completely isolated me from all of my friends because it prevented all of us from going to school. So my day-to-day routine was completely thrown off, and I was forced to adapt to this new way of life that I wasn't used to at all. And it was completely opposite of what I was used to. It also canceled all of the summer plans that I was looking forward to, whether it be going to lab to do some research or traveling all the way to India to see my distant family. So overall, the COVID-19 pandemic definitely did cancel a lot of things that I was really excited for, and that did disappoint me.
Like the first few months of quarantine, I definitely felt like I was like kind of disconnected from like all my social relationships and my friends, because like I could always hit them up on social media and talk to them, but it was definitely a lot harder to like maintain that. And like for instance, teachers who, even though they taught me, like I still enjoyed like having social relationships with them, like talking to them in school in between periods, like I couldn't do that as much. I just felt like I kind of lacked that, and it definitely made me a little sad.
The COVID-19 pandemic was definitely very challenging for me at first because both of my siblings were in college, so I was home alone with my parents, and I was the only kid here, and it felt really lonely, and also not being able to see my friends at all also made me feel really lonely, and I couldn't see my team. I was normally doing practice with them like every other day and working out with them, and I didn't know how to work out on my own. I never had done that before. I had always just gone to practice and that was good enough. But now I had to work out on my own. I had to stay in touch with my friends through different means of communication. I had to be without my siblings for a long, extended period of time, and that was very challenging.
The pandemic has made me more stressed over the fear of catching the virus or even passing it on. It has made me see my grandma less, which makes me sad because all I want to do is see her and hug her. I don't want to have to stay far apart from her anymore. Finally, it has also made me less social.
Now, one way COVID 19 has affected my life in a positive way is honestly taking more time for myself and taking care of myself and just having more time around family and also my pet. I have a pet bird, so I spend more time with him too, so that's been really good.
Giving me some time to pick up some new hobbies and just giving me time to think and reflect. And it also allowed me to start reading more, which I did miss when I was in school, and I rarely had the time.
Cherish the people around you, remember the memories you have, and smile. I realized that not everything is forever. It's telling me that if I'm going to go through life, you have to get through the obstacles that come along with it.
It has also brought me closer to my parents. We are closer than we have ever been before. Finally, it has also made me conscientious about how dirty everything is and the importance of washing your hands and cleaning daily touch surfaces. This is how the coronavirus pandemic has affected me in a positive manner.
COVID has taught me that you gotta be ready for what you're never prepared for, or like you gotta be ready for anything.
It taught me not to take things for granted. This could be having some place to go outside to be able to escape our house, or having a room that I have to myself and I don't have to share with other people, which I know so many people don't have. And I really feel like my communication with my friends and that kind of thing also makes me so happy that I have these things that I otherwise wouldn't have really realized how much of a privilege it is.
It has taught me that you should really value the things you have in your life because like your life can change in just a minute. Nobody expected COVID to happen. So yeah, I think it taught me to value things in my life that I have.
Something positive about COVID that has impacted me or taught me is like spending time. I noticed that spending time with myself as a whole has helped me improve and figure out who I am and all that stuff. So spending time alone can be beneficial.
COVID-19 affected me positively by letting me get closer with my friends through FaceTime calls, Netflix parties, which is where we can watch movies together, and video games, as well as teaching me patience and that things get better through time.
COVID-19 impacted my life positively because it just made me appreciate everything I have that much more, like health-wise, needs-wise. Like I have a roof over my head. I had like entertainment, like all like for those months that we were in quarantine. I had food, and everyone I knew was like safe and healthy. So yeah, it just made me appreciate things much more than I would have if I wasn't in this situation.
Although we're in the middle of a pandemic, COVID-19 has also had its positive effects in my life as well. Being that I was constantly busy with schoolwork or I run track, so that took a whole bunch of my time up and it took a lot of dedication, but I was never really able to focus on my mental health, focus on how I was feeling as a person. So it allowed me to focus on myself more and kind of get a sense of who I am as a person.